Hello everyone, and welcome to Zen Buddhism Wisdom. Today, we are going to explore a question that has likely crossed your mind at some point. Why do the worst people seem to succeed? Take a moment and imagine stepping into a world where fairness is nothing more than an illusion. You see people working tirelessly, acting with integrity, and remaining true to their values, yet they struggle. Meanwhile, others manipulate, deceive, and trample over anyone in their way, yet they climb to the top. Why does this happen? Is the world truly rigged in favor of the ruthless, or is there something deeper at play? Throughout history, in politics, business, and society, we see the same pattern repeating itself. Ruthless emperors, deceptive rulers, cutthroat CEOs. They rise to power, while those who act with kindness and honor are often left behind. Is this just coincidence, or is there an undeniable truth about human nature that we have refused to accept? To unravel this mystery, we must dive deep into philosophy, psychology, and the very nature of power itself. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most radical thinkers in history, had much to say about this topic. His ideas challenge the way we see morality, success, and the forces that shape our lives. But what if I told you that Buddhism, especially Zen, offers a completely different, yet equally profound perspective, one that does not deny the reality of power, but transforms how we understand and wield it. Today, we will not only explore Nietzsche's insights, but we will also uncover the wisdom of Zen, showing that power is not inherently evil, nor is morality a weakness. Instead, we will reveal a hidden path, one that transcends both blind aggression and passive submission. A path of true mastery. Are you ready to begin? Let's dive in. Friedrich Nietzsche remains one of the most controversial and revolutionary thinkers in history. His philosophy does not seek comfort, it seeks truth. No matter how unsettling, he looked at the world not through the lens of wishful thinking, but with brutal honesty, exposing the illusions we cling to. Among his most powerful ideas is the concept of power, not as something inherently evil or good, but as an inescapable force of existence. To deny the reality of power is to deny life itself. Yet, throughout history, we see that those who rise to power are often the most ruthless, the least burdened by conscience. Why is this the case? Why do those who hesitate, who value morality, so often find themselves trampled beneath the boots of the ambitious? Nietzsche offers one answer, but Buddhism, and particularly Zen, offers another. Between them lies a path, not of blind aggression nor passive submission, but of mastery. Power is like fire, neither good nor evil, but capable of both creation and destruction in the hands of the wise. It brings warmth, light, and transformation in the hands of the reckless. It burns, consumes, and leaves only ashes. The Buddha never denied the existence of power. Rather, he transcended its crude expressions and revealed a higher understanding. The true power is not in domination, nor in subjugation, but in mastery. Mastery over oneself, mastery over desires, mastery over the illusions of the ego. The ruthless rise because they grasp an undeniable truth. The world does not reward hesitation, it rewards movement, determination, glimpse but never fully grasp. True power is not in mere conquest, but in understanding. The Dhammapada, one of the most revered texts in Buddhism, declares, "Though one may conquer 1,000 men in battle, the greatest victor is he who conquers himself." The world is filled with those who seek to control others. To bend reality to their will, they claw their way to the top, believing that power over the external world is the ultimate victory. Yet, how many kings, emperors, and conquerors have been tormented by their own minds, enslaved by their own desires, never tasting peace? They grasped at power, but they remained powerless over themselves. Buddhism teaches that all things are impermanent, including power itself. What rises will fall. What is gained will be lost. To attach oneself to power is to attach oneself to suffering. For no throne is eternal, no empire unshakable. History is a graveyard of rulers who believed otherwise. The ambition that drives a man to power is often the very thing that destroys him, for unchecked desire knows no satisfaction. And yet, Buddhism does not advocate passivity. The Bodhisattva does not retreat from the world, but moves through it with clarity. The Zen master does not shrink from the realities of power, but wields influence with wisdom. True mastery is not found in the suppression of strength, but in the transcendence of its destructive impulses. The enlightened warrior understands the game of power, but plays it without attachment. So why do the moral hesitate while the ruthless act? Because morality, when misunderstood, becomes a chain. Many believe that to be good, one must be weak. To be kind, one must be powerless. But this is a distortion of true virtue. Compassion without strength is helplessness. Strength without compassion is tyranny. The Buddha was neither weak nor ruthless. He was awake. Zen teaches the way of the sword that never seeks to cut, the strength that never seeks to dominate, the power that flows like water, formless, unstoppable, beyond grasping. The samurai who follows Zen does not strike in anger, nor does he hesitate in fear. He moves in accordance with reality, unattached to victory or defeat, but fully engaged in the battle. Nietzsche saw power as an unavoidable force, and in this he was correct. But he did not see that power is a river, not a possession. To cling to power is to drown in it. To flow with it is to become one with its nature. Buddhism teaches us to be like the river, strong, adaptable, ingraspable. The ruthless chase power, the hesitant fear it. But the master moves beyond both, embracing a path that neither clings nor resists, only flows. At the heart of Nietzsche's philosophy is the distinction between master morality and slave morality. Those who embrace master morality take charge of their destiny. They do not seek approval for their ambitions, nor do they wait for permission to define their own worth. They shape their own values, recognizing that the world does not reward hesitation. Slave morality, by contrast, is the morality of the weak, of those who are unable to assert themselves, redefine morality in a way that justifies their limitations. They glorify humility, obedience, and self-sacrifice, not because these qualities are inherently noble, but because they serve as a defense mechanism against their own powerlessness. Power, according to Nietzsche, does not disappear simply because we refuse to acknowledge it. It merely shifts into the hands of those willing to wield it. Societies that demonize power do not rid the world of it. They merely ensure that it falls into the hands of those unburdened by ethical concerns. History provides endless evidence of this. The most ruthless individuals often rise, not because the universe rewards evil, but because they understand the fundamental truth. The world is not built on fairness. It is built on force, on will, on the relentless drive of those who dare to seize control. Yet, when Nietzsche stops at the cold observation of reality, Buddhism offers a deeper perspective, one that does not deny power, but instead teaches mastery over it. If power is a river that shapes the world, then Buddhism is the wisdom that teaches one how to navigate its currents without being drowned by it. The Buddha, much like Nietzsche, saw through the illusions of fairness. He did not teach that the universe rewards virtue with worldly success, nor did he claim that kindness guarantees prosperity. He understood, as Nietzsche did, that power does not vanish simply because people choose to reject it. However, while Nietzsche viewed power through the lens of conquest, Buddhism sees power as a tool, one that, when wielded with wisdom, can elevate not just the self, but all beings. There is a reason why the Dharma does not teach passive submission to the forces of the world. In many Zen stories, the enlightened master is not weak or hesitant, but sharp, decisive, and unshakable. True wisdom does not reject strength, it refines it. Unlike the slave morality that Nietzsche criticizes, Buddhism does not advocate the glorification of weakness. The Bodhisattva is not someone who cowers before the world's harsh realities, but one who moves through them with profound understanding. They are neither ruthless nor naive. They see the game of power, but they do not play it blindly. They are the masters of themselves, and in mastering themselves, they hold a power that no conqueror or tyrant can ever match. What Nietzsche calls slave morality is often mistaken for the Buddhist path by those who do not understand it. But humility in Buddhism is not the submission of the weak, it is the wisdom of the strong. To bow is not to surrender, it is to let go of the ego's illusions. To be selfless is not to be powerless, it is to recognize that true strength comes not from clinging, but from flowing. A tree that refuses to bend in the storm will break, but one that moves with the wind remains standing. Power without wisdom is chaos. Strength without understanding leads to suffering. The world is indeed ruled by those who dare to seize control, but those who seize without wisdom only tighten their own chains. The greatest kings and emperors have lived in fear of losing their thrones, but the Zen master who owns nothing is freer than them all. Nietzsche was right that the world does not reward hesitation, but hesitation and mindfulness are not the same. The fool hesitates out of fear, the wise pause out of understanding. The world may belong to those who act, but true power belongs to those who act without attachment. Many people are raised to believe in the illusion of a just world. We are taught that virtue will be rewarded, that hard work will lead to success, that kindness will be repaid in kind. Yet reality does not support these comforting ideas. The hardest workers are not always the wealthiest. The most honest individuals do do not always rise to power. The kindest hearts are often the most broken. This disconnect between our ideals and reality is what philosophers call the just world fallacy, the mistaken belief that fairness is a law of nature rather than a human construct. The truth is harsher. The world does not care for morality, only for results. But Buddhism offers a deeper insight into this truth, one that neither blinds itself with naive optimism nor surrenders to the cynicism of despair. The world may not reward virtue with material wealth, but does that mean virtue has no value? The world may not ensure that kindness is returned, but does that make kindness meaningless? The Buddha never promised that morality would lead to power, nor did he teach that goodness would necessarily bring worldly success. What he taught was something far more profound, that clinging to the expectation of fairness is itself a source of suffering. The first of the four noble truths states that suffering, dukkha, is an inherent part of existence, and much of this suffering arises not from the world itself, but from our resistance to it, our refusal to accept reality as it is. To believe that goodness guarantees reward is to set oneself up for disappointment. To believe that hard work will always lead to success is to invite frustration. But to see the world clearly, without illusions, is to free oneself from the chains of expectation. This does not mean that morality is pointless. It does not mean that we should abandon goodness simply because the world does not guarantee its reward. On the contrary, true virtue is found in action, without attachment to outcome. The Bodhisattva does not act with the expectation of recognition or reward. They act because wisdom and compassion are their nature. A candle does not shine expecting the darkness to thank it. It shines because that is what it does. In Zen, there is a story of a monk who lived a life of quiet virtue. He helped the villagers, cared for the sick, and lived with deep compassion. Yet one day, a young woman in the village became pregnant, and to hide the identity of the true father, she claimed the monk was responsible. The villagers were outraged. They cursed him, shunned him, and brought the baby to him, demanding that he take responsibility. The monk simply said, "Is that so?" and took the child in, raising it as his own. Years later, the woman, consumed by guilt, confessed the truth. The villagers, ashamed, came to apologize. The monk only smiled and said, "Is that so?" The lesson here is not that justice is meaningless, but that attachment to fairness leads to suffering. The world may falsely accuse, may betray, may take away what we cherish. But those who are truly enlightened do not grasp at fairness as if it were an unbreakable law. They walk their path regardless of whether the world rewards them or not. Nietzsche was correct in stating that the world does not operate on fairness, only on results. But what he did not see was that there is a power beyond this, a power not found in dominance or conquest, but in mastery of the self. The one who expects fairness is at the mercy of the world. The one who acts without expectation is untouchable. The emperor fears losing his throne. The sage, owning nothing, fears nothing. This is the wisdom of Buddhism, not to seek fairness where it does not exist, but to walk the path of virtue for its own sake, to act not because the world rewards goodness, but because goodness itself is the reward. To understand that while The universe may not care for morality. A truly awakened being does not need the universe's approval to live a life of wisdom and compassion. But does this mean that one must abandon morality entirely? That to succeed, one must become ruthless, shedding all sense of compassion? This is where Zen Buddhism provides a powerful counterpoint to Nietzsche's philosophy. Zen does not deny the reality of power, rather it reframes it. Power is neither good nor bad. It is merely a tool, like fire. Fire can burn down a home, or it can warm it. It is not the existence of power that determines its morality, but the way it is wielded. Nietzsche saw power as the fundamental force of life, the will to overcome, to dominate, to shape the world according to one's vision. He rejected the morality of the weak, seeing it as a crutch for those who could not assert themselves. In contrast, Zen Buddhism does not see power as something to be worshipped, nor as something to be feared. It sees power as energy, as karma in motion, as something that flows through all beings. The question is not whether one should pursue power or reject it, but rather, can one hold power without being consumed by it? A Zen master once asked his students, "What is the strongest thing in the world?" Some answered, "The sword, for it can cut through flesh." Others said, "The storm, for it can uproot trees." But the master shook his head and said, "No, the strongest thing in the world is the one who can hold power without being enslaved by it." This is the essence of true mastery. It is not found in domination over others, but in mastery of the self. To wield power without attachment, to lead without arrogance, to act with strength but not cruelty. This is the path of the enlightened warrior. The world is full of those who seek power out of fear, who cling to it desperately, who build empires only to be crushed by their own greed. But the sage understands that power is like water. If grasped too tightly, it slips through the fingers. If feared, it drowns the hesitant. Only those who flow with it, who do not cling nor flee, can wield it with wisdom. Consider the story of a great Zen general. He was known for his strength, yet he was also known for his deep wisdom. One day, a rival warlord, ruthless and cruel, came to him and said, "You are a fool. You have power, yet you do not take everything for yourself. You could crush your enemies, yet you show mercy. Why?" The general smiled and replied, "A sword that is always drawn will soon dull. A fire that is never controlled will soon consume all. True power is not in taking, but in knowing when not to take." This is the great misunderstanding of power. Many believe that power is found in force, in domination, in crushing one's enemies. But true power, the power that lasts, the power that does not corrupt, is the power of restraint, of wisdom, of balance, to burn with ambition, but not be burned by it, to hold the sword, but know when to sheath it. This is the highest mastery. Nietzsche saw weakness in compassion, in mercy, in humility, but Buddhism sees something different. The truly powerful are not those who trample the weak, but those who have no need to. A lion does not concern itself with the opinions of sheep, nor does it need to prove its strength. The greatest warrior is not the one who fights the most battles, but the one who has mastered himself so fully that he no longer needs to fight at all. Zen teaches that the most powerful person in the room is not the loudest, not the most aggressive, not the one who dominates through fear. It is the one who is unmoved, unshaken, who does not need external validation. This is why the Bodhisattva, the enlightened being who could escape suffering but chooses to stay and help others, is the highest symbol of power. In Buddhism, it is the power of one who has nothing to prove, nothing to fear, nothing to lose. So no one does not need to abandon morality to succeed. One only needs to redefine success. If success is measured in conquest, in domination, then yes, morality may be a hindrance. But if success is measured in true freedom, in mastery of the self, in the ability to move through the world without being bound by ego, then morality is not a burden. It is the very foundation of strength. Power is fire. In the hands of the reckless, it burns. In the hands of the wise, it illuminates. The question is not whether to seek power, but whether one can hold it without being consumed by it. A Zen master once told a story. A scorpion fell into a river, struggling against the current. A monk saw it and, without hesitation, scooped it out, only to be stung in return. A moment later, the scorpion fell in again, and once more, the monk rescued it. His disciple, bewildered, asked, "Master, why do you keep saving it when it stings you?" The monk replied, "It is in the scorpion's nature to sting, and it is in my nature to save." The lesson is profound. The world is full of scorpions, those who deceive, who manipulate, who exploit. But the question is not whether they exist. The question is how we choose to engage with them. Do we allow them to change our nature? Do we become bitter, abandoning our integrity in the pursuit of power? Or do we cultivate strength while remaining true to ourselves? Many believe that they must choose between two paths: be ruthless and succeed, or be moral and remain weak. But Zen offers a third way: be strong but not cruel, be wise but not deceitful. The most powerful individuals are not those who exploit others, but those who master themselves. The true Zen warrior understands the rules of power but is not enslaved by them. He uses strategy, not deception. He balances ambition with compassion. He leads not through fear, but through inspiration. Throughout history, there have been two kinds of leaders. He tyrant rules through fear, manipulation, and dominance. They rise quickly but often fall, even faster, for their power is built on control, which inevitably breeds resistance. The enlightened leader, by contrast, leads with strength but also with wisdom. They build something greater than themselves, ensuring long-term success. Consider the difference between two historical figures. Adolf Hitler and Emperor Ashoka. Hitler, through sheer force of will, ascended to one of the most powerful positions in history. But his reliance on domination and cruelty led to his downfall. His empire crumbled as quickly as it rose. Ashoka, in contrast, began as a ruthless conqueror but later embraced a path of wisdom and ethical leadership. His reign endured, and his legacy is remembered, not for cruelty, but for enlightenment. His power did not fade because it was not based on fear alone. It was based on something more enduring: vision. Nietzsche teaches us that power is a fundamental reality, and that those who reject it do so at their own peril. Zen Buddhism teaches us that power, when wielded with awareness, can be a tool for transformation rather than destruction. The world does not reward passivity. It rewards those who recognize reality as it is and engage with it. Effectively, to thrive, one must be both strong and wise, ruthless in understanding the game of power, but disciplined enough not to be consumed by it. The path forward is not submission, nor blind aggression, but mastery. Those who achieve this balance do not merely survive, they lead, inspire, and shape the world in ways that endure far beyond their own lifetimes. So, is power truly evil? The answer is no. Power itself is neither good nor bad. It is simply a force. Like fire or the wind, it can destroy, or it can create. It can corrupt, or it can elevate. Friedrich Nietzsche did not see power as something to be feared, but as something to be understood and mastered. Yet history warns us, when power is left unchecked, when it is driven solely by selfish ambition and greed, it inevitably leads to destruction. The real question is not whether power is dangerous, but how we choose to wield it. Do we seek power to dominate, to control, to bend others to our will? Or do we cultivate it with wisdom, using it to transcend our own limitations and shape a better world? Zen Buddhism teaches us that true mastery is not about conquering others, it is about conquering ourselves. Power, when rooted in discipline, awareness, and compassion, does not corrupt, it transforms. When we stop fearing power and start embracing it as a tool for growth, we unlock a way to succeed without losing our souls. This is the path of the enlightened warrior, the path of strength, but also wisdom. That brings us to the end of today's video. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more insightful content on Zen and philosophy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.